Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Pro Football Net Point Power Rankings and the Pro Football Bias Plus reports. And this is Ben and Barry on football.
Hello out there, this is Ben Dickerson, your co-host. Fantasy season is just about over. In fact, it is mostly over.
It's not over yet.
It's not over yet. It should be over. I kind of wish it was over. Okay, but unfortunately, some of the free leagues in ESPN actually play out all the way to week 18. So this weekend, it will definitely be over. I did not take time to count the number of championships that I won, but it's a substantial number. Unfortunately, I'm in 5 money leagues. 3 of them ended this past weekend, and I was in the championship in all 3 and lost all 3.
Wow, really?
That crazy? That's crazy, man.
Who were you depending on that didn't come through?
Elijah Mitchell wasn't great. It's more the people I didn't play. For some reason, the hottest guy on several of those teams was Amon-Ra St. Brown.
St. Brown,
the Lions receiver.
Right.
And I did not play him. And he would have won 2 of them championships for me by himself.
Wow.
Just the amount of points that he put up would have carried me to 2 wins. And one of them I got blown out. I just, Gronk didn't come through. Dalton Schultz played pretty well. Knox, the tight end for Buffalo, nothing. Not nary a catch. Unbelievable. These are guys that carried me to get me to that point, and then they just fell off. But that's okay. I got second place money in one of them, and then the other 2 were winner take all. So it's the breaks, man. It's the breaks.
These are the breaks. Well, last week we still had there's always some surprises. And when I say surprises, as we will be talking in the next segment about the Pro Football Net Point Power Rankings, when you're looking at teams and what they have done to date, you look at the upcoming matchup and you go, based on what these teams have done to date, this team, should be favored. And, we just had a number of those games where you had a bit of a surprise. Let's start out with Chicago beating your Giants. That, to me, was a surprise, but it was very close in being a 0.1 in the favor. So I was a little, that wasn't too much of a surprise. And it was a small favor, in Chicago's way. What do you think about that game?
Well, the surprise for me was that the Bears beat the Giants so badly. Considering the bias being that close, and considering that both teams haven't been very good this year, the Giants have pretty much completely fallen apart. I mean, it's so bad now that the head coach, who already got a nod in his favor to be coming back next season, basically had some crazy unnecessary rant. Probably that. Yeah, I didn't even want to. I mean, he's making himself look bad in my eyes, and probably in the eyes of a lot of Giants fans, and possibly in the eyes of the ownership. I think they like him. I think they want to keep him on, but he's got to tone it down, man. Just be the head coach, bro. That's all you got to do. But yeah,
you guys were with your third quarterback on the depth chart, third, fourth quarterback on the depth chart that you went into this game with?
They went back to the second one.
Second string.
Yeah, so they pretty much said, look, Glennon's no good, and Fromm is definitely not ready. So let's just go back to Glennon and see what happens. But, I mean, it doesn't really matter at this point.
Yeah, that's the challenge when you're dealing, with the rankings. Those rankings have been, that team's history had a certain personnel availability and grouping to it. And then you change that, and it can have a negative impact. We've seen it sometimes have a positive impact. Huntley, for example, for the Ravens, played pretty well, when he had a chance, when he got his opportunity. Then you had the Cincinnati KC game.
I'm not surprised.
Okay, you got that one, I'm assuming, right? You called that one.
I did.
You called
Yes,
that
I
one.
did.
Hey,
I told you, I still think people think this is the same Kansas City that went to the Super Bowl last year. It is not. And the experts will say, no, you're right, it's not. The defense is better. Are they? And okay, I'll give you that. What's up with the offense? They started off that game like gangbusters and could do absolutely nothing offensively in the second half. That's another guy that let me down in fantasy. Kelsey is a must start every week in fantasy. Okay. If he had one of his normal games, I probably would have won one of those championships. Now, I won like 15, 20 of them, but those particular games, those particular leagues that had money involved, yeah, I didn't win those because guys like him got shut down.
The largest bias plus last week of the games that the bias plus did not get right went to the Colts over the Raiders.
Mm. And what was the bias plus on that game?
13.1.
Wow.
Remember, we're doing averages now. So
wow. And it was in the Colts' favor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Raiders beat them by 23-20. That was a little surprising. that was a little surprising. I really thought I'd see a much better showing from the Colts. And I was pretty sure that they would take advantage of the weaknesses on the Raiders defense. And instead, it was kind of the opposite. I mean, first of all, Derek Carr is a gamer, man. You can never count Derek Carr out. He'll throw the ball and run down the field, catch it himself if he has to.
Yes.
That's the kind of player he is. So, but yeah, I was a little surprised about that one.
Yeah. I mean, some of these were not supposed to happen. Denver and the LA Chargers. Chargers was favored, I believe, 2.9 bias plus score, not big.
No, 2.9 wasn't big. I believe, and I think I said this when we talked about this game last week. I said, I believe that the Chargers are the better team. And I'm sure they're going to be the better team without Teddy Bridgewater. Drew Lock just won't be able to get it done. And the only way they would get it done is they stuck to the run game. And the Chargers, we know their run defense is poor. So the surprise here was not that the Chargers won for me, but the surprise was that they won pretty handily, 34-13. And I'm not going to say they stopped Denver from running the ball, but because they scored points on offense, game script got away from them. And then they had to use Drew Lock, and he's not going to come through for you. And the game got out of hand. So that was a bit of a surprise.
It's interesting that we have certain thoughts on these quarterbacks that apparently the coaches aren't seeing. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, what's their options? They don't have any other options. You got to play it out at this point.
Yeah, but I mean, that you chose you chose to keep Drew Lock.
I get it. Yep, you're right.
That was a choice made way back when.
You're absolutely right.
Now, this one was to me the real shocker because this was my intriguing game of the week. Let's see, Ben. I believe this wasn't it? No, this wasn't. It was.
It was the Monday night game, right?
It was the Kansas City game, I believe. Yeah.
Oh.
It was the Kansas City game. And you know why? Because Kyle has been playing so poorly. I'm like, okay, the other two quarterbacks in that matchup have played better overall.
Right.
So Dallas favored, had a bias plus in their favor of 4.3. Not real big, but obviously. And it's just interesting. I think the word that to me that describes Kyler is dispassionate. Dispassionate.
Dispassionate.
Yeah, like he is so cool about what he did. Like,
Right.
yeah, I beat the Cowboys. He didn't jump up and down. He didn't run around.
No,
I
not
see
at all.
guys do more on an interception. You know what I mean? He just did he did his thing, and just like when he scores and he sits in the, what you call him, and does the,
He does a little Buddha. He's a
this little
Buddha.
Buddha thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So quietly dispassionate, just handled that business. And we were looking for that Michael Parsons, matchup with Kyler, to see if he was going to spy him or how that was going to work. And, they handled that. He did it. He got his stuff in, but for the most part, they handled that, man. I mean, sheesh.
The combination of them being able to at least slow him down a little bit, and the fact that Kyler knew that he had to get rid of the ball, I think that kind of nullified Parsons, because he's in your backfield every play. When he rushes, he never gets stoned at the line. He always penetrates into your backfield. So, you got to know coming in, I'm going to have to get rid of this ball because this guy's coming. But yeah, also, again, game script. They got way ahead really early. Cowboys were in comeback mode the entire game.
Yeah. Throw out names like Buda Baker, who was all over the place.
Yes.
Really all
AJ
over
Green
the place.
came up big.
Huh?
AJ Green came up big.
AJ showed, yeah. Let's talk about Dak for a second. Dak did not acquit himself well. When he's running, he looks stiff. He almost stick-like. When he fumbled that ball, I was like, Dak, really? Come on. This is not what what's he making this year? Somebody said $75 million. I don't know if that's what his contract is actually paying him this particular year between all the bonuses and everything in his new contract. But Jimmy Christmas, man, I just look for him to be a little more fluid than that. And it's a little scary, and especially if he's not on his accuracy game. These coaches now, it's interesting to see the offensive sets that they're running and how much they're passing, how much of their game is such a passing game. I also saw it in the next game, which is the Cleveland-Pittsburgh game, and Big Ben is firing that ball in 2 seconds. We used to talk about Tom Brady getting it off in 2.5 seconds, right? They're saying that Roethlisberger's, but again, he's got 5 wide, and they're basically all running short patterns. They're just spreading the field, and he's just kind of trying to find a guy that's got an inch and firing it in there.
Exactly. Spread the field and throw those slants, those curls, those quick outs. Yeah.
But he had an historic number of pass attempts for such a low amount of total yardage.
Yeah. I mean, let's face it, his arm is not what it used to be, but he can still put some zip on it. He was putting intermediate range.
Getting the ball out there. It just wasn't connected.
Yeah. Well, people are real fast to criticize these guys' arms. I remember Eagles fans screaming early in the season that Jalen Hurts had a noodle arm. And now they're kissing his feet.
A noodle arm, really?
A noodle arm. I read it and I heard it on talk radio. They said people said he can't throw the deep ball. He cannot. Like they're some kind of freaking experts. He cannot throw the deep ball.
Wow.
First of all, and my take on it was, and this is early in the season when he actually was having trouble connecting on the long ball. Okay. My thing was, I think it's mechanics.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. I said he doesn't throw the deep ball well, but he can throw it. There's nothing wrong with his arm. You know what I mean? It's his mechanics. It's anticipation. it's ball placement, it's those kind of things. You can't just say because he threw 5 passes and a couple of them were underthrown and that he can't throw. The guy's in the freaking NFL. He can throw. He's young.
Plus, he was doing a lot of running early. That tends to kind of lower your accuracy rate a little bit.
Yeah, they all love that.
So
they all love that. But
I mean, but the arm,
they have found themselves now.
Now, the thing that was interesting is when what's his name started for him, Minshew. And like I said, Minshew, his use of the tight end, was like almost eye-opening. It's like, you guys haven't been using your tight end. You know what I mean? He's been there, and now all of a sudden Minshew's coming in and showing you that, you have an asset that you haven't taken full advantage of. So, but that's not necessarily a deep ball. But some of those passes were nice, 15, 20-yard, completions, so.
The tight end is the best friend of backups and rookies.
I'm telling you. I mentioned that, the intriguing game of the week was the Kansas City Chiefs at Cincinnati Bengals. And, and how I decided on that versus the Dallas, Arizona game. So Kyler really kind of made me look bad a little bit, I said, we haven't seen a hot Kyler Murray in weeks.
It's kind of true.
And I thought the Dallas defense would be able to keep him, somewhat in check, especially, and his command was really good at the end of the game where they just started running options, and he didn't run out of bounds. He went and slid and just, went to take that knee,
Keep the clock running, make them use their timeouts and get out of here.
He did a great job of it, man. Did a great job of it. And just to finish up, we were talking about the Steelers game. And the one thing I wanted to mention to you as a coach, and we were players and as a coach, Roethlisberger said it really meant a lot to him in his final home game to be able to take a knee at the end of the game.
Yeah.
That is symbolic of a serious win. I mean, just the type of win, and to think that gave his fans, and I think he might have took 2 knees actually, that gave his fans that much more time to just cheer and go crazy, and holler his name or whatever. But when you can take a knee, I mean, that means the job was done. Yeah, this is what I say, and I'm playing Madden, so yes, I'm talking to virtual characters when I say this. Getting off early, fellas. We getting off early. Take that knee, watch that run down. Everybody on the sideline cheering it up, yakking it up, having fun. As long as you don't do the old, Jets thing, we try to hand off unnecessarily, and you have the miracle in the middle. As long as you don't mess around, just take the knee like you're supposed to. But I was just it was interesting that he brought that particular part of the game up that doesn't really get a lot of discussion, just taking a knee and what that feels like to the winning team.
Well, there's a reason why they call it victory formation. That's what it's called, and that's what it is. When you have the game in hand and you simply want to run the clock and let the game end, that's what you do. You go to victory formation, put somebody behind the quarterback, put somebody on each side of the quarterback, have him take that quick knee just to make sure that no knucklehead tries to bust through the line and hit him or something, which the first couple, I think some guys did try to do that. Or was that the Cowboys game? No, it was the Cowboys game. Some of the guys on the Cowboys on the first 2 victory formation sets actually did bang into the line really hard, even though they knew that Kyler Murray was going to take a knee. So people do that. That's why they clutter guys around the quarterback. But other than that, yes, victory formation gives you an opportunity to kind of let it soak in, let the fans really cheer for you. If that was going to be his last game at that stadium, they kind of let that kind of rein in on him. I'm sure it felt good. Guy's had an illustrious career, man. he's a Hall of Famer,
No
whether
doubt.
you like it or not.
No doubt.
You know, some people are funny about it because they're like, well, he got 2 Super Bowls, but the one team was loaded and the other team, all he did was hand off. But that's okay. That's all right. I don't care.
He's a quarterback of a Super Bowl winning team. That's about
One of them, he won the game with his arm on the last pass of the game. So I don't want to hear that mess. They were
You know
losing.
what they showed in one of the highlights, Benny? Remember, who was it?
The Bettis fumble?
That he saved, that he
Yes.
tackled the guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
They
Give that
gave the
to
ball to
me
Bettis.
real
They were
quick.
playing the Colts. They handed the ball off to Bettis to get him a touchdown. And he fumbled the ball. It popped out. Guy from the Colts scooped it and started running. Roethlisberger, after he handed it off, took a couple steps back. So he was back further than the guy that scooped up the ball. He saw the guy scoop it. He starts kind of running away from the guy as the guy's running with the ball, looking over his shoulder. He looked over his shoulder one way and the guy kind of went, and he looked over his shoulder the other way and the guy kind of went, and the guy went to run by him and he dove and shoestring tackled him. That play won that game.
There you go.
Nobody else was going to get him.
Yeah, right.
Nobody else going to get him.
Al Green wasn't out there, right?
No. Darryl Green wasn't there. DK wasn't there.
DK Metcalf wasn't there.
Nobody
Prime
was
Time
there.
wasn't there. Even though I don't remember Prime Time ever running anybody down like that. So
Nah, probably not. He never had to.
Yeah,
People were busy trying to run him down unsuccessfully.
that didn't work. All right, Benny, that wraps up the first quarter. Let's get ready to kick off the second quarter with the Sterling Pro Football Net Point Power Rankings. Reminding everyone again, this is Ben and Barry on football. You can find us at www.benandbarryonfootball, as well as on podcasts, on Spotify and Apple, and on all social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course, YouTube. So the Sterling Pro Football Net Point Power Rankings, let's take a look for week 17 and next to the last week of the season. And we're looking at rankings from 25 to 32. Across the board, APF stands for average points for. And the first column, I don't believe I messed that up already, right? First column should be average net points, ANP.
Oh, you put APF twice. That's okay.
So we'll know that. But then you have points for in the next column, points against, and average turnover differential. So going from 25 to 32, Chicago at negative 5.1. You can see what's there from negative 5.1 down to Jacksonville at negative 13.7. These are the teams that are obviously allowing more points than what they're scoring. Consequently, they have negative net points. And for the most part, these teams are all out of the running for the playoffs. Am I correct there?
That would be correct.
All righty. As you can see, they're also on the low end of scoring, under 18 points a game, from 18 down to 14. Jacksonville averaging 14 points a game. Yet giving up healthy points on the APA average points against. Surprised to see Minnesota at 25, giving up 25.6 points per game. The Chargers giving up 26.5. Now these are teams that I still think have playoff hopes. No doubt about the Chargers. They have to win and in. Everybody else, Houston, Washington, Atlanta, Detroit, Jacksonville, and the Jets all giving up anywhere from 26 to 20, almost 30 points a game, and also in the negative in terms of turnover differential. So those are your bottom 8. Any last words on the bottom 8?
Just on the average points against, I wouldn't worry too much about the Chargers and the Vikings. Vikings took a really bad beating from the Packers this past weekend. And the Chargers had a blowout loss against somebody too. So it's a little bit of a skew here late in the season. But obviously, if they're this low, that means they were middle of the pack at best to begin with. So,
yeah, absolutely. All right. 17 through 24. I have the same situation in the first column. That is your net point column. Denver coming in at the first positive net point, 1.1. Everybody else is in the negative. Baltimore, Minnesota, Cleveland, Miami, Pittsburgh, Las Vegas, and Carolina. So you got teams that are still in the negative who still have some playoff hopes, mainly Vegas, Pittsburgh, Miami. Cleveland still has playoff hope?
No, Cleveland's out.
Cleveland's done. Minnesota.
In fact, the Chargers winning put Cleveland out.
Okay. All right. In terms of scoring, 17 through 24, 17, it has Seattle. Then you have your Raiders averaging 21.2 points a game. New Orleans, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, all at about 20. Washington, Denver at 19, and Miami also at 19. So again, these guys have any of these teams have playoff hopes. They're going to have to get their points up a little bit. I still think 28 is the magic number. Anything on the scoring end there?
If they want to do anything in the playoffs, they got to get their points up. But first of all, they have to get in. And the only teams here that I can see right off the top of my head that have a chance to get in is Vegas, who needs to get a win and a combination of a Chargers loss, I'm pretty sure. Pittsburgh still has a chance, but I'm not exactly sure what their scenario is. And Minnesota and Baltimore both have very, very small chances. So basically what you have is a situation where the team itself must win, and this then must have some combination of other teams winning, losing, or tying. So basically it's not really in your hands. All you can do is go in, do what you can control, which is win your game, and then sit back and watch the scoreboard.
That's going to be fun, but watch some scoreboards. Let's see what we have on the top half of the rankings here, Ben. From 9 through 16, now we're all in the positive range in terms of the average net points. Cincinnati at plus 5.6, followed by Green Bay 5.4, Philly 5.3, Tennessee 3.9, San Fran 3.7, Seattle 1.3, New Orleans 1.2, Chargers 1.1 in terms of net points. But you can be on the low end and still be somewhat positive as long as you're, scoring more than you're giving up. In our scoring category, we have at number 9, the Rams, followed by Green Bay, Arizona, Philly, San Fran, Minnesota, Tennessee, and Baltimore. We're ranging from 27 down to about 23.4 points per game. Green Bay's coming in 9th on defense at 20.9, followed by Seattle, Tampa Bay. Seattle and Tampa Bay both giving up 21. Indianapolis 21. Kansas City 21. Everybody's giving up 21. Kansas City, San Fran, Rams, and Miami. That 21 thing goes deep, all the way down from 10 to 16. And then you have our turnover differential where we're in the positive. Again, it's one of the only other categories we have both positive and negative numbers. Seattle's coming in at 9th. New Orleans, Houston, Kansas City in the positive. Rams 0.1, Denver, Chargers, and Philly all at 0.1. So there you have your second quartile. I think it's quartile when you're talking about fourths. For your 3 categories. Anything on those?
Well, here's something that caught my eye and kind of struck me funny. We're looking at average points against, and we have 21, 20.2, 0.3, 0.3, 0.6, 0.8, all these 21s. And I said, well, what else could be similar to with these teams besides the amount of points that they're giving up on an average per game? Green Bay, Seattle, Tampa Bay, Indianapolis, Kansas City, San Francisco, Los Angeles Rams, and Miami have all been the same defensively. When you look at them, they have shown us their best and they have all shown us their worst. Not one of these defenses has been consistently good throughout the season. I've seen these teams get hammered, and I've seen these teams explode. These defenses I'm talking about right now, every last one of them. So they all have that in common.
Well, that's how you get to be in the middle of the road. You know what I mean? Yeah, super hot and super not. It still averages out. And that's how you get to be real middle of the road there. And like I said, with my Niners, my beloved Niners, having those cornerbacks out when you're coming up against a team with the kind of wide receiver talent that the Rams has does not bode well. But we'll talk about that in the next section. You ready to move on to the top 8?
I'm ready.
Well, bam. Buffalo's been riding that number 1 spot most of the year at plus 11.1, followed by New England at plus 10.5. We're going to talk about New England in a minute. Dallas at plus 9.2, Tampa Bay at plus 8.4, Kansas City at 7, Indianapolis at 6.3, Arizona and the Rams tied. That division is wild, ain't it? Tied at 5.7. So that's your net points there. And your points for Dallas is finishing up week 17 in the top spot and scoring at 29.9 points per game, followed by Tampa Bay, Buffalo, Kansas City, Cincinnati. There's your 28-point group right there in your top 4. Now, Cincinnati can put up more than 28. We know that. So 27.8, that's pretty close. Chargers, Indianapolis, and New England all giving up 27 point something points per game. So they're all putting up 27 points. But Dallas ran up the score. New England, I think, kind of ran up the score a little bit, even though it's hard to say when you have a rookie quarterback, but they put a 50 burden on them guys, man.
I could have been back there quarterbacking. If I scored 50 points, I scored 50 points.
I'm telling you. Now, New England's coming in first on defense, only giving up 16.9 points per game. Probably I was disappointed in their showing against Buffalo, but other than that, pretty well. And look who's right behind them at 17.4, Buffalo. Denver, 18.4, New Orleans. And man, New Orleans. How spooky is this? 4th place in terms of points against defensively. And then you have that 20 group, 20.5 through 20.9, Arizona, Tennessee, Dallas, and Philly. So there's your top 8 defensively. Indianapolis and Green Bay tied at +1 for average turnover differential. And then everything is basically only about 0.3 points apart between 3rd and 8th place with Dallas, Arizona, New England, Minnesota, Tampa Bay, and Buffalo. So here's your top 8. I mean, any of those teams that are a little bit below that, this is what they're going to have to contend with to get through the playoffs and get to the Super Bowl. This is a pretty tough group right here. Last words from you?
If any of those teams that you just showed in the graphic before this one, from 9th place down to whatever it went to, 16th.
There you go.
Yes, from 9th to 16th. Cincinnati, Green Bay, Philly, Tennessee. Any one of those teams, except for obviously Seattle and New Orleans, can possibly upset one of those teams in that top 8. So this thing is far from over yet. We cannot look at the top 8 as being, hey, that's the playoffs. These are the guys that are all going to advance. These are the teams that are going to be banging it out to go to the Super Bowl. Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Especially in this topsy-turvy season.
Right.
This season has been bananas, man, no doubt about it. So, but here's your top 8. So you know that these teams are going to be uber competitive. I think after we saw what Cincinnati did, that to me was absolutely amazing. I don't know how much of that game was bad defensive play calling. It's like, and Ben, let me just say this about Jamar Chase. In that one play where he caught that slant, gave the one guy a move, and then broke out, and everybody chased him to the goal line.
Yes.
I went back because I'm like, okay, how fast is he? Because nobody could deal with him. 40 time in the combine, 4.38.
Yep.
So that's what your 4.38 can get you in the NFL. You can run by I don't know if the Kansas City defense is considered a fast defense. Their offense is fast, but I'm not sure about their defense.
They're fast.
Okay. Well, he ran right by.
They're not famous in my mind. They're not famous for their big hitters or anything. They don't have any big burly linebackers that are up there stuffing the run. They kind of rally to the ball and gang tackle. And that they're a little, I don't want to say they're smallish on the defensive line, but they don't have a bunch of huge guys. They really don't. I'd say they're pretty fast. But see, there's a difference between playing fast and being fast. You know, fast guys can play fast. Like there's not a lot of difference in play between a guy that runs 4.3 something and a guy that runs a low end 4.4, like a 4.48. Okay. But when you get in a track meet, when somebody misses a tackle and somebody opens up and you got to change direction to go get him, you just lost any advantage you had. That's how close it is. You know what I mean? You might get within 2 feet of him and he'll hold that 2-foot lead all the way to the end zone. That's the difference. So, you know, it's not that they're not fast. It's just, you know, once he caught it and the first guy missed and he opened up, it was over.
Done deal, man. That was a fun play to watch. All right. That wraps up the Sterling Pro Football Net Point Power Rankings in the second quarter of Ben and Barry on Football. Again, you can reach us at www.benandbarryonfootball.com. Okay, Benny, so Bias Plus reports for NFL Week 18 of the 2021/2022 season kicks off on Saturday. First game, Kansas City Chiefs at Denver Broncos. Bias Plus score of 6 favors the Chiefs.
Yep. Gotta like the Chiefs on this one. No doubt about it. Couple of reasons. Main reason is Denver's quarterback is Drew Lock. The next reason is the Kansas City Chiefs, I believe, still have a chance of getting the number 1 seed in the AFC. Number 1 seed in the AFC means a bye in the first round of the playoffs. And it also means, I'm pretty sure, home field throughout. So they do have something to play for. All the starters should be there until they at least get the game locked down before they start to pull people. So yeah, definitely go with the Chiefs.
Going with the Chiefs. I can see that myself. Cowboys at Eagles. Bias Plus score 4.6 favors the Cowboys. Parsons out, and all of the Eagles are out. COVID.
All right, this one's going to get a little sticky. This one's going to get a little sticky for the Eagles fans because this is the Saturday night game, I believe.
Yes, it is.
It's not the Saturday afternoon game. There's 2 games Saturday, right?
Right.
Okay. So if this is the Saturday night game, yeah, this could be tough with the COVID issues now. If they tested positive at the beginning of the week, like Monday, then they have a possibility, or there is a possibility that they could make it back in time for this game. Anybody who tests positive during the week will probably not be eligible to play in this game. As far as I know, the Cowboys are only missing a couple of guys, but one of them is a really important guy, which is Micah Parsons. Not exactly sure when he tested, but I think I heard he has a possibility to make it. He has not been counted out, I don't think. Either way, Ooh, this is for the division, right? This game for the division?
Yeah, it's
This
hard to
game,
believe it is.
it's crazy, isn't it? I can only commend the Eagles. I know Eagles fans think that I'm a hater. I'm really not. I mean, most people had these guys dead and buried back in the early part of the season. They were complaining about the coach, the game plan, everything, all kinds of stuff. They said Hurts had a noodle arm and couldn't throw the ball long. He shouldn't run. He runs too much. But look where they are now. So if I was a Dallas fan, which I'm not, I would be telling people, yo, this is a trap game for us. On paper, you might say the Cowboys are more talented, but they got to come in here and play the Eagles. And the Eagles are, ooh, man. I got to take the birds on this one, bro.
Oh,
I got
no,
to take the birds
really?
on this one. I'm taking the birds on this one because I think the Cowboys,
Even with all the COVID issues?
even with all the COVID, well, now, see, here's the thing. It's Wednesday. I have to make a pick. Now, if these guys all come back by game time, I'm golden. If they don't, I'll probably look like I'm crazy. But I got to make a pick. So I'm going to assume that most of them are going to make it back. And if they do, I'm going to take the Eagles. I think the Eagles want it more. I really do.
Interesting. Two things I'm seeing. Number one, I'm seeing a game time temperature of about 24 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to help Dallas.
Nope.
Vegas has Dallas as 7-point favorites, though.
That'll change during the week.
Okay. All right. I'm hearing you. Going with the Eagles, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Next up, Bengals at Browns. Spice Plus score 7.3 favors the Bengals. Nobody's going to have their starting quarterback, so.
Right. That is correct. Their starting quarterback is not playing. Joe Burrow. Joe Mixon will not be playing. I don't know if they're going to hold out any of their receivers. I wouldn't if I was them. I think they're content with the fact that they've clinched their playoff spot. They don't have an opportunity. I believe they've also clinched their division, which I know is a main goal of theirs, because the Bengals haven't won the division since I was a kid, probably. So I'm sure they're pretty happy with where they're at, and they don't have an opportunity to get the number one seed in the AFC. Therefore, there's no need for them to put any of their main players in jeopardy, especially if they're dinged up in any kind of way. So hard to call this one. I don't know if Baker Mayfield's going to play. He's already said he's got to get off-season surgery. These games are so really hard.
I believe Baker's done.
Okay. All right. Well, then that means Case Keenum is playing. So I like Case Keenum better than I like the Bengals backup quarterback. So I'm going to take the Browns. How about that? You like that logic?
Yeah, counterintuitive, but I agree with you, Baker. Case Keenum actually played well when he had a chance to come.
Yes, he did.
So that they might not be taking that big of a step back. Who is the backup quarterback for the Bengals?
I want to say it's Kyle Allen, but I might be mixing him up with somebody else.
Well, let me see here real quick. You say you think it might be Kyle Allen?
Yes.
Well, yeah, well, they're not really saying here, but at this particular point, you may be right. You may be right. Let me look at this depth chart.
Yeah, he's been around. He's been around a little bit. I believe he played. He backed up Cam in Carolina.
How about Brandon Allen?
Brandon Allen. Okay, I was close. I don't know Brandon Allen's resume as well as I know Kyle Allen's resume, but yeah, I'm going to go with Case Keenum on that one.
I would think so. Brandon, he has a pretty thin resume. Let's just put it that
way. Right.
All right, Pat. Did I move to the Packers and Lions already?
Yes, you did.
All right. Well, then let's go back there to the Packers at the Lions. Bias plus score 12.1 favors the Packers. Everybody's playing, right? They got stuff to play for.
I don't think so. I believe the Packers have clinched
They're
the
clinched
number
what
one
they need to
seed.
clinch.
They've clinched the number one seed in the AFC, in the NFC. They have nothing to play for. So they will probably look to keep certain people extremely healthy. I doubt that Aaron Rodgers plays. I doubt that Aaron Jones plays. I doubt that Devontae Adams plays. This will probably be Love's game and Jordan Love. And it'll be interesting to see how he does against a hungry and feisty Detroit Lions team at home. Guess what? I'm going to take the Lions on this one. I'm going to take
lots of your decisions are driven by these quarterbacks, eh?
Yeah, quarterbacks and main skill players. Yes, absolutely.
Well, we talked about the Lions. I've talked about them all year. Feisty is at least the word for that team.
Right.
And you gotta like that, in them. So
they've been that way since the beginning, but early on, they were losing games on coaching errors and really bad mistakes and turnovers late in the games. But now that they've kind of cut that down, all that heart and feistiness they've been playing with has turned them into a really fun team to watch.
yes.
So, let's go Lions.
Our guy from Philly, running back, I think he's out injured, right?
DeAndre Swift came back last week, had a couple carries. He should be there.
Oh, okay. That's good. Philly in the house. Next up, Bears at Vikings. Bias plus score 5.5 favors the Vikings.
Ugh. So, one more time, I got to remind everybody at the beginning of the season, when this COVID issue came up and the vaccination issues came up, and the NFL and the Players Association decided that they would not mandate that the players had to get vaccinations. Several guys chose not to. Kirk Cousins was one, and I remember him giving a press conference with a big old smile on his face and laughing and making some kind of statement. And I paraphrased, if I get it and I die, then I'll die, or something along those lines. Am I right?
Yeah.
Guess what? In the biggest game of the season for your team, the week you had a must win, you didn't show up because you tested positive for COVID and your team lost. So now face your teammates, come back and see if you can beat the lowly Bears, who I believe are out of it. But they're going to start Justin Fields, and Justin Fields has shown a lot of improvement, especially on a bad. It's hard to show real improvement at quarterback when you're on a bad team.
Yeah.
Okay. But I've seen Justin Fields grow quite a bit. I'm taking the Bears in this game. I'm taking the Bears in this game, man. The Vikings look like they had all the fight taken out of them last week. To me, I mean, 37-10. And yeah, I know it was the Packers, but they had no juice. I went into a fantasy game here, and this guy beat me, but he congratulated me for beating him before the Monday night game when he actually pulled it out with his kicker. But I was winning at the end of Sunday night because he had Justin Jefferson and he had Dalvin Cook, and both of them basically did nothing. In fact, Dalvin Cook faked the injury. This is me talking. I think Dalvin Cook faked the injury because he didn't want to be out there no more.
Wow.
He looked like he was averaging 1 yard a carry. He never broke loose. Never. At least Jefferson made a couple of catches. They took all the starch out of them boys, man. I don't know what they got left. I really don't. I'm taking the Bears in this game.
Going with the Bears.
Yes, sir.
All right. Washington football team, who I understand on February 6th are going to announce their new name, at the New York Giants. Bias plus score 1.6 favors the Washington football team.
Yeah. I saw some of the candidates for names too, and I didn't really like any of them. Well, there were one or two that I were like maybes. The rest of them were horrible. I don't see why they just don't go with the Washington Sentinels. I know it was the name of the team in a movie, and they might think that's corny, but that's actually like a pretty cool name if you ask me, but whatever. At this point in the season, my Giants have nothing left, bro. They got nothing left, man. I watch Washington play the Eagles, and then I watch the Giants play the Eagles, and Washington fought to the end. The Eagles are like, oh, Washington, they stink. Y'all struggled with them for like 3.5 quarters before they pulled that game out. The Washington football team is just better than the Giants. I have to take the Washington football team. This season's a wash for the Giants, man. I feel bad, but we have nowhere to go but up at this point. So, yeah, take Washington in this one.
Taking the Washington football team, going with the bias. Colts at Jaguars. Bias plus score 22.4. That's probably the largest bias we've seen so far. Favors the Colts.
I'd say the Colts are that much better. I'm pretty sure the Colts still have something to play for. So I'm going to take the Colts. If Wentz plays and Taylor plays and all that good stuff, I see lots and lots of turnovers. I see Trevor Lawrence just trying to get this season over with and get out of here. That's the way he played last week. I believe he'll play the same way this week. So I'm going to take the Colts.
Have you seen any of the what's the thing that they do when they usually follow you around in the preseason and they're following the Colts around during the season?
Yes. I watched it up to, I think, mid-season. So there's a couple episodes. I haven't seen the last couple episodes.
What's this called again?
Oh, Hard Knocks.
Hard Knocks, right.
But the fact that they're doing it, they started in the preseason and they're keeping it going during the season, I think this is a better way to do it. Like, this is pretty cool.
Really?
They picked the right team. Oh, yeah. This is better than just showing all that stuff in the preseason. That's easy.
Okay. Well, these guys are definitely serious at this particular point. It's during the season. They got them on Zoom calls, and speeches and all of that kind of stuff. So
it's really cool because it shows the challenges that the coaching staff has with communication with the players and stuff too. They got to keep them guys safe because they don't want to have these outbreaks. They don't want these guys, testing positive and all. So they're trying to keep them as safe as they can. Now, once they leave the facility, who knows? But while they're in the facility, they're trying to do the best thing they can, and they're trying to not bring them back and forth as much as possible without hurting their game plan and, hurting their preparation.
Well, it's funny because, we talked about Wentz and the unvaccinated scenario that he's bringing along. According to the tracker, though, Indianapolis has nobody on the COVID list. Jacksonville, it's got a ton of people. I'm looking at 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, like 10 different people on the COVID list. So that score might be a little more lopsided. Colts at Jaguars, you're going with the Colts, right?
Right.
Okay, let's move on. Okay, this should be interesting. Steelers at Ravens. I might make this the intriguing game of the week just because it's Ben's last game. Bias plus score 2.9, however, favors the Ravens, and Lamar is looking more questionable every day.
More questionable on the good side or questionable on the bad side?
Bad side.
I was going to say, last report I saw, they showed him in the practice and he was still limping. Didn't look like he couldn't even jog without limping. So that's not good.
Now, Joe Hayden is on the COVID list for the Steelers.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. He's a starter, so I shouldn't poo-poo him, but
don't poo-poo him like that, Betty.
But my thing is, the dilemma for the Ravens is they still have an opportunity to make the playoffs, as the Steelers do. which hence makes this game important to those two teams. Because regardless of whatever other scenario each one of them has, winning this game is a must to keep their dream alive. So this is going to be a good game. Huntley is ready to go, and I like Huntley. So to me, if Huntley can play, they're not going to miss Lamar that much. This guy is the closest thing to Lamar you're going to get. And he throws the ball well. He seems to make good decisions. I like him. And I think in this game, I was going to say I like the Ravens, but boy, those Steelers ran the ball really well the other night. This is a tough one, bro. Tell me this. The 2 games in a row, the 2 weeks in a row that the Ravens came back in games and went for the 2-point conversion and didn't get it. Were both of those games at home? Because I think they were. Do you remember?
I don't remember per se.
I can look. Because I was going to say, they have a hell of a crowd. And they play usually really well at home. And I know people might say, well, the Ravens haven't played that well. Yeah, I get it. They got a lot of injuries. If a couple guys get COVID on this team, it's a mess because they're already playing with a bunch of backups anyway. So, yeah, the Bengals blew them out in week 16. They were in Cincinnati for that one. You know what?
They had a loss against the Steelers by 1, a loss against the Browns by 2, a loss against the Packers by 1. Sheesh, and a loss against the Rams by 2.
Right. I remember that Rams game. I'm going to take the Ravens in this one.
Can they put pressure on Big Ben? And can they offset the pressure from can the Ravens offset the pressure from TJ Watt? So those are the 2 questions that I have at this particular point. Maybe we'll look at them closely if this becomes the intriguing game of the week. Kind of fun looking at it right now, though, I must admit. All right, who's up next? Titans at Texans. Bias plus score 14.1 favors the Titans. We know they have something to play for. Wait a minute. They've clinched a bunch of stuff, right? What am I talking about? They've clinched a bunch of stuff.
The only thing they haven't completely locked down is the number 1 seed. Kansas City still has an outside chance. Now, here's the thing. I believe the Titans beat Kansas City head-to-head, if I'm not mistaken. So that's advantage Tennessee. But I believe they'll go all out in this one. But even if they don't, they're playing the Texans. They're better than the Texans. I got to go with the Titans in this game. Even the Texans at home, and I'm sure they'll be rah-rah. You know, they've looked pretty good in spots coming down the stretch here to the end of the season. But the Titans are a better team.
Well, they won the division. That's the number 1. That's what they did do.
Right. Yes, they did. Yes, they clinched the spot and they clinched the division. They clinched the division early on, but they still have an opportunity to lock down the number 1 seed so that everything in the AFC has to come through Tennessee. That's what they really want. So because that is not 100% locked down, they will play hard in this game. They will play to win this game. So I'm going to take the Titans, and I take them anyway because they're a better team, but I'm saying they probably won't sit anybody. Crazy thing is, unless, in case you didn't hear the news, and I'm sure you did, but you didn't mention it, Derrick Henry's coming back. That makes that whole team scarier. That's one guy who can make, you know how they say, if you're the MVP of your team, it's because you make your teammates better. He's the one guy that can make his teammates better on a football team. He definitely makes Tannehill better. 100% makes Tannehill better. Because now, those play action fakes, everybody's biting. You know what I mean? Tannehill's throwing the ball without pressure. The offensive line, once he gets his rhythm back, but we're talking about in the future. Let's take the Titans and move on.
Take the Titans and move on, he says. Saints at Falcons. Bias plus score 10.2 favors the Saints.
This used to be like a really big rivalry. Now it's a mess right now. Games in Atlanta. I want to take this. I'm going to take the Saints in this one. I think Taysom Hill is going to prove to be a bit of a handful for the Falcons, as he was last week for whoever the heck that was they were playing. I'll tell you the truth. I think they like Taysom Hill, man. I didn't think this guy was going to survive this. I'm like, all right, they'll be picking a quarterback in the draft next year. And they will, but probably not till maybe second, third round, because I think they like Taysom Hill. I think that Sean Payton enjoys drawing up plays for him and having design runs and things like that. So this might be the beginning of the Taysom Hill era. And if it is, then we'll probably be seeing Jameis in another uniform next year once he's healthy. But that's a discussion for another day. I'm going to take the Saints in this game based on their defense.
Okay, fine. Going with the bias. And that was the first of the 4:30 group of games on Sunday, Ben. We're now into the evening group. Jets at Bills. The Jets got to go up there to New England. The Bills have a bias plus score of 23.5. I think that is the new high. Favors the Bills.
Oh, that's high, yeah. Got to go with the Bills. Number one, far better team. Number two, they still have something to play for. Their division is not locked up yet. They have to win and then watch and see what New England does. So, yeah, take the Bills probably in a slaughter.
And that Atlanta Atlanta game was also a 4:30 game. So you're going with the bias here with the Bills. Not a lot of conversation here. So what can I say? Stephon Diggs should have a field day, I'm thinking, out there.
They all should.
Yeah, really. Emmanuel Sanders is questionable.
Yeah, he's banged up. They don't really need him right now. If I was them, I'd sit him down and let him chill for a little bit. They've still got Beasley. They've still got Gabriel Davis. And the kid McKenzie is nice. He's had a chance to show off a little bit. Isaiah McKenzie. So, yeah, in the wide receiver group is strong.
Ben, I've never seen a 16-point spread in anybody's favor until now. Bills are favored by 16.
Really? 16?
16. That's a new one for me. All right. You're going with the Bills. Oh, Benny. San Francisco at the LA Rams. We have to win. We have to win. Bias plus score 2.4 favors the LA Rams. It looks as if Trey Lance is going to be the starter. I did play this game. I stunk it to high heavens in terms of turnovers, and I got handed one long touchdown by OBJ, and then Cooper Kupp started on me, and I could not get my receivers free enough to really. I was making bad decisions. Had a couple mind farts. Long story short, I lost to the Rams, and it doesn't bode well for my team. Hopefully, they will do a lot better job than I did of running the ball, of bullying the Rams, which is basically what they've been able to do, and get over this bias plus score. What do you think?
Crazy as it may sound, I think this is a trap game for the Rams. I believe that the Rams can be run on. I believe if Shanahan comes in there and gets his mindset, because now he's got Wilson and he's got Mitchell both healthy. He's got Hasty he can bring in anytime he wants to give them a breather, but he's got to pound them. He's got to feed Samuel, and he's got to find George Kittle. Where is George Kittle? Kittle, I watched part of that game, and I watched 2 series, and he blocked on every play almost. Now, granted, they were running the ball, but even on a couple of pass plays, he didn't run a route. And then when he did run routes, he didn't get targeted. It's kind of scary. I don't know what's going on.
You've heard me talk about this, right?
Yeah, well, I don't understand it though.
The lack of using Kittle as a weapon in the pass game. Kittle, remember what you said about Henry, right? How when Henry comes in the game, you know, the focus changes, the defense all of a sudden has to. It's the same thing with Kittle. If you'll put him in those situations, you can still run the ball, but your play actions, your really your first receiver and look should be Kittle. You know, it's like Devontae Adams in the Packers. You know he's going to throw to him. You can't stop him. That's what I'm expecting. You know, I didn't do a good job in the game, but you're saying how too often they're you know, he's doing way too much blocking. You can put a 2 tight end set in there, and it's like having 3 wideouts, because Kittle is as fast as a number of wideouts. He's faster than a lot of linebackers. So he's like having another wideout. You know, he commands attention from the defense, the pass defense. So we shall see. We shall see. But who you got in this?
It's almost like he's holding Kittle back because he knows he kind of has him in his back pocket. And he's trying to expand Samuel and Ayuk, because every week Ayuk is playing better and better and better and better, which is that's good. That's a plus for their team, but it shouldn't be at the expense of Kittle. It's almost like he doesn't know how to feed them both. And I know he does. I don't understand what he's doing. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what the guy's doing.
Join the rest of the Niner of fandom who are kind of confused as to what he's doing. But what's funny that you said is about this being a trap game for the Rams. And it's funny because the Niners have beaten them like 5 straight times. So the word trap from a team that you've lost to 5 straight times, it just sounds a little strange.
Yeah, except for the Rams are over there looking, they're saying, who we got this week? San Fran? Yeah, all right. Yeah, oh, we got them. They're not going, oh, I don't know. They beat us the last 5 times. Teams don't think like that. They're thinking in the moment. And they're looking at their team, and they're looking at your team. They're like, oh, we're going to beat them. We can beat them. We're better than them. We have more star players than them. They're hurting in their secondary. We should be able to run the ball on them fairly well. They don't do anything on defense great. They're just kind of good. You know what I mean? So they're going to feel like they can have their way. And I'm telling you, if Shanahan comes with his head on straight, y'all can run up and down the field on the Rams defense. The Rams defense is not good. People are like, oh, Jalen Ramsey. And last time I heard Jalen Ramsey's name is he's smacking one of his own teammates in the huddle. They never call his. He doesn't do anything. Aaron Donald is beastly. And yeah, he can fight off double teams and all that stuff. How many sacks has this guy really got?
Yeah, I don't think he had the year. Nobody's talking about him for MVP this year.
That's what I'm saying. How many? He's not a run stopper. He can't stop the run.
He's not a big guy, number one.
No, but he's extremely strong. He stands up to double team blocks all the time.
Yeah.
He's hard to handle. So he doesn't have to be big. He's strong and he's quick, which is a very rare combination for an interior defensive lineman. But he can't stop the run. Cats run right by him. Pew! They run. This team can be run on, and you can get them with Kittle, or you can take Jalen Ramsey out of the game with Kittle and take their other corner who's playing really great this season and let him decide, do I want to take Samuel who's going to be moving all over the field, or am I going to take Ayuk? And whichever one he's on, you throw it to the other one. So I'm taking the Niners, man. I gotta believe. Listen to me, Shanahan. Listen to me. These boys can be had. Take the Niners, and I want to see y'all in the playoffs. Come on, man, get it done.
I'm with you. Okay, going with the Niners. What a guy. What a guy.
What a guy.
Wait a minute, you did say you're going with the Niners, right?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Okay, all right.
I believe if they do what I say. Now, if they don't do what I say and they lose, then I'm gonna be like, see?
I know. I was trying to take a quick look because I thought I had heard Von Miller might be on the COVID list.
Oh boy.
And I wasn't quite sure, so I was just trying to see if I could get some news on that before we move on. Okay, I'm not seeing it, so we'll hold off on that right now. Okay.
Oh yeah, and I was impressed by Trey Lance last week.
Okay.
I thought he played well.
He played better than what I'm playing with him right now.
I liked what I saw.
Patriots at Dolphins. Bias plus score 13.9. Favors the Patriots. I thought that was a little high, but again, the Dolphins, as much as they've played well recently, I guess they put themselves in such a hole that they're not high on any of the rankings in terms of net points and all of that kind of good stuff. They're not scoring a lot of points. So they're going to struggle with this. Patriots are almost a 14 bias plus score favorite to win this thing.
Yeah, again, the Dolphins look like a team that can't wait for the season to end. For all the whole hoopla of the 7-game win streak and all, those last couple of games were losses, and last week's game was a total blowout. So, and they looked really, really bad. Like they looked beaten. You know, it's one thing when the team loses the game, but you see them, they're fighting to the end, and that didn't work out. Oh, darn, we lost. And it's another thing when the team just looks whipped. Like they showed a sideline and everybody's sitting there like, bro, this is not our day. That's how the Dolphins look. On top of that, just like the Bills, the Patriots and the Bills are both fighting for the same thing. So they're coming at them. And they just put a 50 burger up last week. So they're feeling real good about themselves. Yeah, this is a bad day to be a Miami Dolphin.
They did put a 50 burger, but I'm hoping I'm not seeing the trend that I'm getting a feeling like I'm seeing with the Patriots, and that is they're struggling with the better teams and they're smashing the poor teams.
So what does that mean? They should have beat them 20-3? You'd have been happier with that?
I'm not. It's not a question whether I'm happy or not. The question is, is Mac when he's playing against the better defenses, is he able to be as proficient? I mean, obviously, if you're playing a bad team, you expect to do better, against a bad team. But I want to see him really compete against a better defense. That's what I'm interested to see now. It's one thing to beat up on a bad team.
He has played better defenses. A couple games he won, a couple games he lost. You got to play the team that's on the schedule. And if the team is bad and you got receivers running wide open, you're supposed to throw the ball to them. What are you going to do? You're not going to lay down. You're not going to run your two running backs who are really, really balancing this offense out really well and saving him from having to do a whole lot in games. So you want to keep them healthy. Damian Harris only practices like once a week just so they can get him in the games. Ramondre Stevenson is the big back, but he's not going to have you a lot of breakaway runs for you. You need them two guys together. So when you get a game where he can really air it out, you can just trounce these boys and rest your run game. It's like the opposite of what you would normally do when you play a good team. You want to get your lead up on them and then run them into the ground with your run game. In a game like this, air it out. Them cats couldn't cover you and me. What do you want me to do?
Hey, I didn't say I want him to do anything. I just said I want to see what he does.
You've seen it already. You already seen him. You've seen him play the Bills. They beat the Bills once they lost to him.
I've seen it.
Who else is in
You
top?
might be satisfied. I'm not. We'll have to go with that.
Not satisfied. The season's still going. How can it be
Well, he got
satisfied?
one more game. It'll be interesting to see what he does against the Dolphins defense.
My point is, what does this game and him scoring 50 points have anything to do with him playing better defenses?
When I've seen him play recently, some of the better teams, he just did not look good. So
Okay.
I want to see him play the better teams, and I want to see him.
All right. So we'll pretend that game didn't happen and that 50 points was a mirage, and we'll wait for him to play a good team.
Just a mirage. It was just
a mirage. Well, it won't be this week.
You going with the Patriots?
Absolutely.
All right. Seahawks at Cardinals, NFC West. Bias plus 4.7 favors the Cardinals.
Another trap game.
Trap game, he says.
So the Cowboys actually had some success running the ball against the Cardinals last week. Somehow or another, though, the wheels kind of fell off on the defense. They fell way behind, and then they had to throw the ball. They had some success throwing the ball, but not consistent success. Ended up the score being a little closer than the game actually was. Now, the Seahawks offense can essentially do the same thing that the Cowboys offense was able to accomplish against the Cardinals. They can run the ball. Rashad Penny's looking good all of a sudden. And DK finally out of his funk. Lockett never was in a funk. Russ knows who's buttering his bread now all of a sudden. The problem is the Seahawks defense. I'm still a little shaky on them, and Kyler did look good last week. This game is going to be closer than most people think. It is a division game. I don't know if the Seahawks have any playoff scenarios. If they do, they're probably extremely thin. And if they are eliminated, they would like nothing more than to mess up the Cardinals. They can't knock them out of the playoffs. I'm pretty sure they already clinched. But a win against the Cardinals would really look good for them going into next season, especially if they want to keep Russell Wilson there. Because rumor has it he's going to be a New York Giant. You heard that from me.
Well,
anyway,
I've heard the conversation.
Yeah, I think they're leaking it to kind of see the reactions that they get, but I think behind closed doors they're pushing hard. Something's got them thinking that they can pull this off, that he might in fact even want to be in New York. He's a big market guy playing in a small market. But yes,
I don't know if he likes it that way. He might like it that way. Some guys like to be that big fish in a smaller pond.
But he's been that way too long. It's too long. It's out. It's worn out. It's old news. Let's try the big market now. Big fish in a little pond. Big fish in a little pond for him. That's run its course. He's been in the Super Bowl twice. He's already won one. People are booing him. They wanted to kick him out of town just because he said, hey, we need to work on our offensive line a little bit. And they're like, oh, what are you talking about? If I was him, I'd be ready to go.
Listen to you. Keep talking.
I would.
Talking it up.
No, not just because I hope that he comes to the Giants. I'm saying if I was him, I'd be ready to go. They don't appreciate him no more. They don't. Either him or Carroll, the head coach, will be gone before next season starts. One of them or both of them will be gone.
Well, I think he definitely got a good shot with Carroll going. I think he'll go almost voluntarily.
Yeah.
At this particular point. So, all right, but you're going with whom?
The Cardinals really need this game, but I've seen them stumble a couple of times. They really surprised me, but I know they got stumble ability, if that's a real word. So I'm going to stick my neck out. Since it's the last game of the season, any doggone way, I'm going to stick my neck out, and I'm taking the Seahawks in the upset.
Woo! That's an upset, no doubt. Well, not a big bias, 4.7, but okay, I can see that. And then again, division, all weird, no doubt. All right. You're going with the Cardinals, going with the Seahawks, going against the bias.
Yes, sir.
All righty. Panthers at Buccaneers. Bias plus score 14.4 favors the Buccaneers.
I don't know that the Bucs have a lot to play for, but with all the stuff going on, I think they're going to come out hard on this one. I think they're going to come out with their guns blazing in this one, just to kind of get their mojo back. I mean, let's face it, you just barely pulled out the game against the Jets last week on some late Tom Brady heroics. You shouldn't need late Tom Brady heroics against the New York Jets, but you actually did. So they got to get their mojo back. I think they're going to take it out on the Panthers, and they're going to beat the brakes off of them. So I'm going to go with the Bucs.
All right, going with the Bucs. Who knows who the Panthers want to have at quarterback? They don't seem to know. 1 minute they want Cam, next minute they want Darnold. They want Cam and Darnold both at the same time. You know, gee, Christmas. I don't know what the heck these guys are doing. Going with the Bucs against the Panthers.
Yep.
Benny, that is the last of the early evening games. And there is no Monday Night Football. Not this coming weekend, anywho.
But Sunday night.
Sunday night. The last
Intriguing game. Intriguing game.
Oh, I hear you.
It's lights. Intriguing game.
It is the last game of the regular season, of the 18-week season, the final game. We have the Chargers at the Raiders with a bias plus score of 6.2 favoring the Chargers.
This is the game, man.
Everybody's saying don't count out the Raiders.
You can't count the Raiders out. And now the Raiders are at home after a really big win last weekend. Oh, my gosh. But the Chargers also had a big win last weekend against a defense that I consider to be better than the Raiders defense. That would have been the Broncos. Obviously, the Broncos offense is not up to par. So a team with a dynamic offense like the Chargers can easily flip the game script, get things going in their way, and then that kind of negates any advantage that a team's defense may have. That being said, I believe the Chargers will win this game. I'm going to take the Chargers. I wish it didn't come down to these two teams because I like them both. But I really, really like the Chargers and have always liked the Chargers ever since Herbert became the starting quarterback. But I like the Raiders for the way that they're playing, considering all the crap that they've had to go through this season. They're a really resilient bunch. And people talk bad about Derek Carr. I love Derek Carr, man. That guy is a never say die guy. But if they don't establish the run against a Chargers defense that can be run on, this game's going to get away from them. It could turn into be a shootout. And if it turns into a shootout, the Chargers will win. If the Chargers jump out and get a couple TDs up on them, the Raiders may catch up, but the Chargers will put them away. The Chargers, they're just better. They're just a better team. I'm going to go with the Chargers.
I see what you're talking about. Chargers are allowing 136.7 yards per game rushing.
Yes, it's horrible.
As opposed to the Raiders are only allowing 116.1 yards. So I see what you're talking about. And we've all been very impressed with Herbert, at this. And, you said to me last week, Herbert or Burrow?
Did I say that?
Did you ask Burrow me? Right away.
Did you ask me or did I ask you?
You asked me.
Okay. And you took Burrow right away.
Right away. And then I watched Herbert that evening. And I'm going, I think I should have went with Herbert.
Bro, we got years and years of this.
Hopefully.
These two dudes they came in the same draft.
But Herbert's just more athletic, taller, faster.
Yeah, body type. What body type? Herbert is the prototype. He's the prototypical drop back passer who does have running ability. Burrow is a little on the smallish side, but he also has running ability. He also has had knee surgery. So,
and he hurt his other knee last week.
Yeah, that's minor though. He was doing the gritty in the locker room, smoking cigars.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. All right. Well, you're going with the Chargers, going with the bias on the final game of the regular season.
Yes, sir.
Good luck with all of your picks. We don't get luck over here on the net point rankings. The numbers just say what the numbers say, and whatever happens, happens. So you were pretty good last week. Again, you were 75%.
Yeah.
Last week.
Without a doubt, my best week of the entire season.
The unmanaged bias plus reports was 62.5%. Not bad. Not bad.
Not bad at all.
Not bad, all things considered. And it's going to be interesting to see how we take this forward into the playoffs.
Hey, the bias is like Mike Tomlin. Haven't had a losing season yet. Right?
There you go. Not bad, not bad. All right, that wraps up the third quarter. Let's finish this thing up in the fourth quarter. All right, Benny, let's get ready to go into the fourth quarter where we go to our social media, Ben and Barry on Football, on Facebook, and just go through some of the topics there. We finished off last week talking about John Madden and his passing, and I had watched some of the special that they were doing on him. I watched, before last week, but since then I went back and watched it again,
Mm-hmm.
And I guess what stood out even that much more was his impact on certain players. One crazy defensive end from the New York Giants, who was renowned for saying, "Let's just go out there like a bunch of crazed dogs."
Oh, Lawrence Taylor, yeah.
Yeah, Lawrence Taylor, man. Lawrence Taylor said they asked him to do some kind of something, and he was like, "I ain't doing that, man. I'm not going to, let me figure out how to get out of this thing." Oh, it's John Madden. Oh, okay, I'll be there. Don't worry about it. It was like that with Lawrence Taylor and John Madden. And that was absolutely amazing to me that he had that type of impact on that wild man.
He had Madden, when he was broadcasting the games, he had his favorites. Like there were certain guys you could tell he had an affinity for by the way that he talked about them when he was doing their games. They made a point of saying the same thing about Brett Favre. You could tell that he really, really liked Brett Favre just by the way he talked about him when they were doing his games. So yeah, Lawrence Taylor was one of those guys. And those guys appreciated that.
Who's the guy on the Cowboys? The lineman?
Oh, Nate Newton.
Nate Newton.
Yeah.
He loved Nate Newton.
He loved Nate Newton. Him and Nate Newton had like a fat guy thing going on. He's like, look at this guy. He's fat, but he makes his blocks, and he's a great run blocker, and he's this and he's that. And I put him over there, and he just hits the guy. He goes boom, and then he goes over there. Yeah, he loved that guy. Man,
He said that when Madden was around, he would wait around till everybody left so that he could get Madden time.
Yeah.
With him. So I just thought that was pretty neat. That was pretty nice. All right. What else do we have here? Hey, there's that Ben and Barry on Football with 2022, the COVID show. Benny, we lost Dan Reeves, passed away at the age of 77.
Yeah. And
he had some giant in his background, didn't he?
I tell you what, Dan Reeves was a part of, and I hope I get this right, 9 Super Bowls
Yeah, I believe so.
as a player and a coach. Okay. Lost a lot of them. But those John Elway Denver Bronco teams that went, I think, 3 years in a row and lost, I believe he was the coach of those teams. I say Dan Reeves is a Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? He was a good player. He wasn't a great player, but he was a good player. And he was a good coach. He was a player's coach. I never heard any player say anything bad about him. He took the Atlanta Falcons to a Super Bowl. Remember the Dirty Birds? Remember that
Dirty
year?
Birds, baby.
The year they beat Randy Moss and Chris Carter and forget the quarterback and Randall. They beat them to go to the Super Bowl.
Right.
That great Minnesota team.
Right.
When the kicker, who hadn't missed a kick the entire season, missed the kick and they lost. Yeah. He coached that Atlanta Falcons team. He was a good coach, man. He was a good coach. I think he belongs in the Hall of Fame just on sheer volume of Super Bowl appearances.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I agree with you on that, and like I said, you know how I am about the Super Bowl anyway, so I would have him in there. Last but not least, Benny, I want to share this article that came up about how NFL teams are trying to protect quarterbacks like Kirk Cousins from COVID-19, and not always successfully.
In other words, trying to protect them from themselves.
Yeah, fundamentally. Yeah. You saw, I'm sure, the Eagles, for example, they got everybody in separate rooms on the Zoom calls now. Everybody kind of went almost back to the 2020 protocols when COVID first hit, school closing. The NFL hasn't said squat about reducing or changing any of the protocols for the fans. They reduced the protocols for the players. I'm looking at this one article here, and I don't know if you can see this if I switch over, but I just want to say it real quick, that they're talking about, for example, Aaron Rodgers would not have to be subjected to another COVID test until the week of the Super Bowl. Now,
they've already had it. That's their reasoning.
Seems to be. See, I don't. They once they decided to go along with the CDC and stretch everything out. I don't know what their thinking is. I do know when I listened to the main doctor, he said they were changing the way that they were testing. He said it should be more, not less tests, but I think it's more of a random than everybody having a test or something like that. But long story short, I could not understand this, how, a guy could go that long without being tested in the NFL. So I just thought that was a little strange. I still think it's strange. And I think that the NFL, again, watching the game on a cold night, when you see those guys and they're breathing and you can see their breath extend all the way out to here in the steam, that when that center lines up against that DN and that
they're
guard,
breathing right into each other's faces.
They're breathing all up in each other's face. And it's just hard to believe that the NFL thinks, we don't have to test guys. If you tested positive and now you're asymptomatic, you're good to go in about 2 or 3 days, stuff like that. So, last week our family was struck with it. I'm still waiting for my PCR test. My first antigen test we took before Christmas was negative. Then everybody got sick afterwards. I took another antigen rapid test today and it came back negative. So, I'm feeling a lot better, obviously. And, everybody's doing pretty well around here, but I don't like the fact that the tests are taking so long to come back. But, that's kind of what happened. The world got inundated, with the Omicron variant and, everything got backed up. So, so much work that we have to do as a country to really be prepared for not just what's going on with the rest of this pandemic, but who knows what the future holds if we don't, as a world, as a, you know, stand together and work a little bit better than what we did in this last pandemic. So I'll leave that at that.
Yeah, I just, you know, I mean, I've had a rapid test, and this last one that I took was supposed to be 72 hours, which I believe the longer it takes them to get the results, the better, for lack of a better word, the test is the more accurate the test is.
The PCR takes 2 to 3 days. The rapid test obviously is a 15-minute test, but there are
Right,
different types of tests. Rapid is antigen, PCR is more, you know.
Right. So we took the PCR. So what if it actually takes 2 days to get the results, what they tell you when you take the test is you should have your results back to you within 72 hours, which would be what, 2.5 days, 3 days? Right. So I don't have a problem with that. And the fact is, again, like you said, there's so many people testing that. They're setting up these testing sites all over the place after they had just taken them down, like over the summer. So people are testing like crazy. So I see that's going to slow things down. And not to mention, you know, the fact that we just went through the holiday season. But, you know, I'm not too upset about that. You get a little anxious when you take a test and you don't get results because you want to know, you know. But yeah, things are crazy.
I literally called for my PCR test today, and all the ladies would say it's so backed up. I can't. When I go on the computer, it just says not available. Just
yeah, they can't.
Not, you know. So it is what it is. But you know, it's a crazy world we live in. Keep an eye out. You know, this will be interesting if it impacts the playoffs. That's what I'm looking for now.
It will.
The playoffs, man. You don't want your quarterback. You don't want your top receivers.
That's why they're changing these rules. That's why they're changing these rules.
But they're changing them to make. Now the funny thing, they're changing them so they play quickly, right? The thing about Omicron is that it doesn't make you as sick, generally, especially if you're vaccinated. So they're probably going to get away with this.
But it's easier to catch, though.
Yes, much. There was one on my Facebook page. I have an article. They said in Israel, they had a situation where they had a COVID quarantine hotel, and they had one person on one side of the hallway and another person on the other side of the hallway positive. The other person wasn't, but somehow the person that wasn't wound up getting positive. And they're saying, could that have actually traveled that far, you know, to have infected the other guy? They're saying that, you know, and again, it's all about, you know, what you're breathing. You know, it's that. Apparently they're not so much worried. Like, remember when it first came out, we were all washing off our groceries when we brought them home. We like wipe everything down. You know, I don't think they care about that so much now.
Nope.
It's all about, you know, what's coming out. That's why you got to have the mask and all of that. So
I'm washing my hands really good now. I had slowed down with that some, but now since this thing seems to be starting to get out of control again, my hands are dry and cracked up because I wash my hands like 6-7 times a day. Like
yeah, I'm doing a lot of water. I'm back to the sanitizer.
Oh, that never left.
Yeah.
Light switches and doorknobs around here, bro. Light switches and doorknobs a couple times a day. Desiree is on it.
All right.
He's on it. But anyway, that's the life we're living in. So,
any last words from you?
Only last words I got. Yo, the flag football national championships are coming up. I know I keep saying it. We're a week closer. I will be taking everything I'm using right here for this, except for my bar behind me. I'm going to have to open up a new bar when I get down there because next week I will be in sunny Orlando, Florida for the flag football national championships. So with that being said, we still will have a show. I'll just be broadcasting from down there. I don't know what the weather's like down there, but that's where I'll be. But going down with the Philly Legends, 35 and over, 8-man, everybody's eligible flag team. And that's my squad We're the number 1 seed going in. We hope to win this thing. We're going to do our best. So all I can say is go Legends.